Hello and welcome to another Engage webinar, part of the Engage webinar series from the Mid-Hudson Library System, where we spotlight libraries that are doing great work in their communities. My name is Courtney Wimmers, and I'm the Outreach and Engagement Specialist for the Mid-Hudson Library System. And today we're joined by Tamara Gaskill, the Director of the Roeliff Jansen Community Library, and she's going to talk about a local oral history project that she's been working on in her community during the time of COVID-19. So Tammy, thank you so much for joining me today and for being willing to talk about this really awesome project that you're doing.
Sure, no problem, thanks.
So just to start off, what was the inspiration behind this project?
Well, actually, it was not my idea. It started with we serve three towns, and Hillsdale is one of them. And the town supervisor of Hillsdale, Peter Sipkowski, was interviewed by one of the trustees of the Hudson Area Library. I think largely because he was or had been the president of the Roeliff Jansen Historical Society. So that was posted, and Peter had a good time doing the interview and thought, hey, our library should do something like that, except focus more on our present time and COVID-19. Also, Peter had been involved as president of the Roeliff Jansen Historical Society with an oral history project that they did with older members of the Hillsdale community. So he was familiar with oral history, interested in doing it. When he proposed it to me, I thought it was a great idea because I had been thinking about doing something, also had never gotten around to it. I am a historian by training, so that was something I was interested in. And so when he brought it to me, I said, sure, let's try it. And he was willing to do the interviews. I was the one who contacted people. We both sort of brainstormed about who to contact. Um, and it's still ongoing. We haven't really decided how long it's going to last or, how it's going to stop. But for now, it seems to be getting a lot of interest, and we're still going forward.
That's great, and as long as it's working now, like you can worry about when to stop in the future. I think it's a really cool idea, and I think it's very important, especially now, to capture kind of what's happening in the world because we're living through an historical time right now. Like this is going to be something that people learn about in the history books. So I think it's really cool that you're collecting the stories from around the community, so you have like a really local historical perspective on this in the future.
Right, right. I mean, that was a lot of the point, was to, like, this is an important moment, and how do we capture that and keep it? So right now we're sharing these online, but we hope to be able to preserve them in some way so they'll be available in the future.
That's great. So you've kind of explained it a little bit, but like, how does it work? Like, how do you think of who to interview, and then what's kind of the process that happens?
So when we first started talking about it, Peter had a couple of ideas of people he wanted to interview. He wanted to start with Rob Laconia, who is the town supervisor of Austerlitz and is the chair of the community, the Public Health and Human Services Committee of the county. And he's the one that's primarily been involved with all of the county efforts regarding COVID-19. So we thought he would be a really good person to have share information with the community. So he was the first one. But then we thought, we tried to think of who are other community leaders, especially during this time of COVID-19, that would be interesting to talk to. So we tried to like kind of look at different, make sure we got different categories of people. So we got elected officials, we have town supervisors, we have business people, we have like Harrington's is the biggest employer in the area probably, and so we have the manager of Harrington's, we have local restaurant owners, we have trying to think what else, people involved in social services like the food pantry or an organization called Neighbors Helping Neighbors. We have the superintendent of the school to get a sense of how the school is handling the situation, and then just other people who are sort of leaders in the community in that they're involved in other organizations like the Grange or the Friends of Taconic State Park. And even we have, our most recent one was a musician, and how artists and musicians are handling the COVID-19 crisis.
I really like how it seems like there is like a mindfulness when you decide who you're going to interview. Like it's not just random people; it's kind of people that are influential or involved with different aspects of the pandemic situation right now. And I really like that you're getting a lot of different perspectives. I think that's very cool.
Yeah, we're still trying. We have a few more in the works still. We're still trying to get some farmers. Uh, we have one I know we're going to do. We're trying to get a few others. We also have the pastor of one of the local churches. So we are trying to reach different segments of the community.
That's fantastic. So that kind of goes into my next question, which is what has the community response been? How are people responding to this?
They seem very interested in it. I was looking today. So we post these, we created a YouTube channel to host these and then link to them from our website. And then we also share on social media. And I was looking at the views and they range a lot depending upon how widely they get shared. But, there's like the highest one has over 500 views and that's just in a couple of weeks. So we feel that's pretty good. They're getting a lot of likes and they're being shared pretty widely. I know the town newsletters have been sharing them. And of course, the people who are interviewed are sharing them on their social media. And so I think it's been pretty positive. I know we have one of our town historians wants to post some of them on his website as well.
That's great. It seems like there's a lot of community support, and you're kind of providing content for other organizations, which is always useful. I know, like I'm always happy when people give me stuff and I don't need to make it myself.
Yeah.
So I think, and it helps you too because you get to share your collection with a wider audience, which is very neat.
Yeah, I think it has been something that's been widely shared, just not just on our social media, but others have been picking it up and passing it around, which is great.
So you touched on this a little bit, but where will the recordings be stored?
Well, when we started, I wasn't sure, we've all been learning new skills and technologies during this time. And at first I just, the way they've been done is Peter, who's doing most of the interviews, he hasn't done all of them, but he's done most of them. He sets it up as a Zoom interview and they get recorded to the cloud and stored on Zoom. He shares that link with me and then I download it. And what I was doing was downloading it to my Google Drive and trying to link to it from that. But then we decided it would be better if we had a YouTube channel, and we finally did get one set up, our first time ever, which is good. We should have done that before. So now they live on YouTube.
That's really neat. So it's you didn't have a YouTube channel before this, and this kind of inspired you to create one so they have a place to live.
They do, and yeah, so now we can use that for other things as well. So that was a plus.
Yeah, that seems like a great idea. And stuff stays on YouTube for a long time. So I think yesterday I was
Right. I
watching
feel
a
like
video
I
from
used
like
to keep going
2009.
there. I was a little bit afraid that my Google Drive would get filled up with these large files quickly.
Yes, yeah. So what tips do you have for anybody that wants to start a project like this at their library or in their community?
I think the key thing is probably finding your interviewer and having somebody who maybe has a little bit of experience doing that would be great. Peter did from the Oral History Project he worked on for the Historical Society. Another thing that I didn't do that I should have done early on is being a historian, I know that I should have release forms from the interviewees before we post them. And I completely neglected that when we first started that. And then I thought, oh no, we need release forms. And so I created those and have been sending them around to get signed to allow us to share them and keep them. It's something I should have done at the beginning, but it's hard when we can't see each other. Like the interviews are done virtually, so it's not like you can stand there and have, here, can you both sign this? So it's kind of been scanning and emailing it to one person, getting it back, emailing it to the next person. It's been a bit of a process, and it would have been better if I'd had it in place to begin with, so we could be passing those out before we did the interviews instead of after the fact.
That's a really good tip though, because it seems like everything is so crazy right now, and there's so many things to think of, and I know you're probably juggling like a million different things. So it's great that you remember that at all. Honestly, I wouldn't have thought of that. So that's a really good tip to share, and very important to get people's permission. So that's very good.
Yeah. Um, and I think, I mean, it's good to have a little bit of a conversation with the people you're going to interview ahead of time so that they have a sense of, what kinds of questions you're going to be asking them. It's easier once you've done a few and you can share them with them, and then they have a sense of the kinds of questions. It started out, I was thinking anyway, that it was going to be primarily about the present moment and how we're dealing with COVID-19. But they've become more than that. I mean, that is part of all of them, but it's not. But it's also just these people telling their stories and how they came to live in our community and become involved in it and become leaders in the community. So it's got an interest beyond COVID, which I think is good and will make them valuable for even longer.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. Even though the situation that we're in right now is so unique, like it will hopefully be over someday, and people can look back and kind of understand what was happening with local businesses and local leaders in that sense, but also kind of like how they became who they are, I guess, which
Mhm.
is very neat. And I have to say, I really commend you and your library for doing this because you're acting as such a great connector between people right now. And I think that's something people are really craving is those connections and to see people in their community online, even though they can't see them in person. And I think you're doing a really important thing that libraries should do, which is sharing people's stories that might not otherwise get heard. So great job. This is a fantastic project, and I'd be really interested to see if any of our other libraries take something like this on.
Thank you. I mean, I've learned a lot from it, just listening to the stories myself, and a lot more about my community and the people that live in
Yeah,
it.
I
It's
think
something
it's one of those things where like it can be really easy to forget that everybody has their own story, and it's worth listening to them. And I really think it's a great way that you're allowing your community to do that in a time where it's not so easy to talk to people.
and I think at the time it makes people want to talk more than they might otherwise. I mean, everybody we've approached has been willing to do it.
Oh, that's great too. So, not just a lot of support from the community members watching, but it seems like a lot of support from the people who are asking to be interviewed, which is great.
So I think they feel a little bit more like they have an important story to tell right
That's fantastic. So thank you so much for being willing to come and share a little bit about this project with everybody, and I look forward to seeing where it goes in the future.
now. Okay, thank you.